All right, crude oil, Sunday, July 17th, 2022. So the larger structure, it's always been the question every time it dips down into this zone right here, which has been on my chart for months and months. Is this a wave four? Is it finally done? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Um, but you can just see. So I like to start with the larger time frame and just sort of get a lay of the land. Look at this candle. Could that be a bottom? Yeah, absolutely it could. Um, if it wants to keep coming back lower, there are targets down here. 82.74 would be the bottom of reasonable resistance if it wants to come down and get a larger degree. Wave two, but I don't know about that. This is pretty convincing looking. So let's move on through and take a look at the levels from different perspectives. So here, this is still a daily chart here, and it just kind of shows, us dipping below, making a new low, and then the reaction that we had from there. So, even though these technicals are still bearish, but, bottoms are bearish, of course. The best way is to determine a bottom is to wait. But what fun is that? I hardly ever wait. But, to each his own. Anyway, so just looking at that, maybe that's the bottom of a wave four, and then we're going to get a wave five, which comes up. I don't know why I took those fibs off. At one point I had fibs up there. Anyway, comes up, just call it 150, just for now. Anyway, so let's keep drilling down. So this is a 4-hour chart, but God, what a reaction. It really shows you what happened. And also, these are just fibs if it were to go lower. There's no reason why this can't be the bottom, put it that way. And look at the reaction that it had from there. But having said that, look at that reaction, look at that reaction, look at this reaction, look at this reaction. But, the key is, where are we in the structure when it was having those types of moves? And, kind of the lower we get here, it's got to be a wave four pretty soon, because if it keeps coming back down meaningfully and creates another low from here, then there's a chance that there's a larger 1-2 to the downside in play, in which case this projects lower. But I don't know. This looks pretty convincing. The one thing I would say is it looks like 3 up, right? This is a 4-hour chart. It's pretty clearly 3 up, right? I mean, you could argue that if you want, but I think it's 3 up. So let's drill down a little bit more. So speaking of 3 up, if it moves in threes, and this ends up being a wave one right there, made up of a 3-wave move, and then it comes back somewhere into here, that if it comes all the way back down into here and then catches support and creates another impulse, it is very possible that this could be a diagonal for wave, potentially what is wave 5. But at least on this micro basis, if you get 3 up for wave 1, then you get a wave 2 pullback somewhere a little deeper than these levels up here. This is only the 236, 382. Would need to come down, I think, deeper. So let's say it does that. And then the wave 3 could be also made up of a 3-wave move, which would originate as some kind of an impulse up for wave A, and then catch a B wave, and then get another shove up to the 1, 2, 3, 6 for wave 3, which puts you all the way up there. So another thing I would say, though, is that this, to me, this is a 3-wave move. So what if, if this is working on a wave 4, how high up does wave 4 need to go? Well, probably. And what I mean by 4 is meaning this is the bottom of 3 down, meaning we're getting a bounce for wave 4, and we need one more shove down for final wave 5 of 4. Nominal, doesn't have to be deep. In fact, it can't get too deep. I mean, it could go down into the 80s, mid 80s, mid to upper 80s for the final wave 4. But if this wants to move higher, this is the bottom line for me, for the way I'm thinking, is if it can get above this pivot and it can still crisscross it a bit on the subwaves of this wave 3, it can still crisscross this pivot. But if it, in general, whatever this open is tonight is going to be telling, I think, and the next 24 to 48 hours will be really interesting to see what happens in this region, because if this is only 3 up, it needs to get another high. If this is, because believe me, I've measured this a whole bunch of different ways. I mean, is this 1, 2, 3? I don't think this is a 1, 2 just because of the way this is behaving now here. It could be, sure, yeah, of course, but I'm just saying, I don't know. This kind of makes more sense to me right now as a 3-wave move for wave 1, and then this comes back. But now that I've said that, watch at the open that this just goes higher. And if it does, maybe this is the 1, 2, and this is just going to be a sort of a slow start to wave 3. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. And if this comes down overnight, my ideal trade, I always say the same thing, because my ideal trades, for whatever reason, have always been in the morning, like the way this was over here. It came down in the morning hours, right? Overnight, 5 a.m., could fake out, bounce, and then one final shove down, just like 9:30, right at the regular market open. This is what I love to trade more than anything else, is a morning low. So if this can come down overnight after the open, whatever it does at the open, if it doesn't make a new high, or even if it does make a new high, because that can always be some kind of a B wave, make a nominal new high, whatever, get a shove down overnight, and then tomorrow morning somewhere in here, I mean, that would be ideal, because then I will definitely try long. If it just goes higher from here at the open and it doesn't come back, then what I'll just watch for is what kind of a reaction does it have up here, and just call it 102. If it can, ideally though, it will come back, and then I'll dial into the five minute strat. So I'm not going to spend much time on these technical things on these smaller time frames, but I do look at it. And this is a 15-minute chart right here. There is a very nice mature squeeze on that, and the histo is starting to turn up. So wouldn't it be cool if this fires at the downside at some point, even if it goes higher at the open? It could gap up at the open and still retain a 15-minute squeeze, and then it fires lower. I'm just talking out of the side of my neck now, saying what I want to see. Because then if this can, even if it opens and gaps up, doesn't make a new high, and then meanders a bit after the open into the evening, and then overnight that 15-minute fires to the downside, that would be perfect enough juice just to get this thing to come down into here somewhere. Wouldn't that be awesome? Anywhere under 96, if I'm awake at that hour. If it comes down into here, then I'll be eyeballing to try to get long. And that's that. So, who knows? And then the daily, just on this view, it's the same thing we've been looking at, but there's no squeeze. Look at the text. The TTM squeeze is definitely bouncing. There was definitely didn't I make a negative divergence? So a positive divergence, or maybe that was silver. That must have been silver I was looking at. But there is there is a bit of a divergence right here. You can see it more easily if I bring this in like that. So the technicals are making lower lows here, and then you did get that nice bounce. But then now it's kind of like reset. These technicals have all come back. You see how they're, except for this one, except for the TTM. But that's because we got that bounce there, and that's reflecting on this tool. But these other indicators are still pointing lower. And, that's fine, because if this is really the bottom, they're going to correct themselves. So you could wait. Just like on the way down, this crossover here I took seriously. And look where the price was when the MACD, when this fast line crossed over the slow line. At the same time, this based on the posture of this tool, which is a volume tool, but that also, the moving average on that also crossed over. So at the moment, these tools are still pointing down, but they always are. If you're going to try to catch a bottom, you're going to be doing that against technicals that are bearish. There you go. That's it. Good luck. I'm hoping it comes back. Oh man. All right. I won't be on at the open, but I'll be checking it later tonight. See ya. Good luck.